we're talking about to and from school, we always try to tell our kids, please don't walk to school alone at any time of the year or any time of the day. We try to emphasize that on a safety thing. But our goal tonight is just to have a discussion and answer some questions. But before we start doing that, I'd like to recognize a few folks from the district over here. Mike Flowers is already standing up, so I'll introduce him first. Mike's a school board member. Appreciate what you do, Mike. Also from the Board of Education, we have our board president, Warren Weber, here. So we appreciate Warren. And this is a historic day for us. Tom Blind is missing something. Who's on the board. Tom doesn't miss things, but Tom is ill today. But we'll just wait and I'll say hi, Tom, because I'll guarantee you he's streaming this at home right now. And so recognize Tom, Bev Nickham, and Tim Carr, who is not here tonight. So, and then I'll let you folks introduce your crew when you get a chance. But other than that, we have teachers and administrators in here. And as I mentioned before, we take the safety of our children, their parents, and our community very seriously. So what we are doing in conjunction with the mayor's office, the police department, the fire department, is that we are conducting monthly safety meetings as a group here, our district, and these folks over here. So we've met once a month to discuss anything from roads at dismissal times. I know that's always something with the mayor, because he probably hears that. And how efficient we try to be at dismissal when we're letting our students out of the building. We talk about bad situations in our building, and I will tell you this group over here is just fantastic, each and every one of them up here, because they've dedicated themselves to come and share their thoughts with us. Not only do they do that, our buildings have building safety meetings that these gentlemen have been out to help us with our plans that way. So I really feel comfortable about the communication that we have right now. And again, I will emphasize, we couldn't have better communication and better folks to work with from both chiefs and everybody from the mayor's office. So if you would, let's give them a hand. As a school district, we're doing everything possible. And I will tell you, I get a question from parents. Can you guarantee that my child is safe? And I share with them, I won't make that guarantee. You can't guarantee any of us are safe at any place, not just a school, a church, a mall, those type of things. But I will guarantee you this, we are having conversations and we are doing our best to minimize any activity that goes on in our building. And so we appreciate that. We've done some things here. We were big on response time of an incident. We've done a lot of things to ensure that that response time is taken care of. And I know we had an incident in the building last week that within 3 minutes there were about 6 officers. A person was speaking. He says, you want to keep people out of your buildings? And he flashed something up on the screen, a picture on the screen. And it was a picture of a prison. He said, build your school like that. Other than that, they're coming in. It's what you do in that period of time from the entry into that to eliminate that response, or to reduce that response time. We're working very hard on that. We also have areas where kids would be transported. We don't share that for obvious reasons. And we ask our parents to say you will be communicated with in the instance that way. So again, tough subject to talk about. And I'll add one more with that. We are working very hard on mental health issues in our school district. So much that I would stand here and tell you we're probably leading, if not this area, if not Ohio, this area. And that's not a knock on anybody else, on social and emotional health of our students. Right now we spend a lot of time dealing with those kind of things. So in any event, I'll turn this over, and guys, you got to use the microphone, not so much for the people in here, but so the people over here hear you. So stand with your best side towards the camera, And I'm going to introduce Mayor Hall.
Thank you, Doug. Welcome, everyone. This evening, both, of course, being streamed and in the room here today. In Newark, we truly have outstanding safety forces, police and fire. We work hard at that all the time. It's a never-ending task in training. I sign training forms all the time. These guys and gals are going out learning the best of the best in many, many ways, and we're real proud of all they do. Our collaboration with Newark schools is tight and great and right there all the time. And as Doug said, we've kind of started something new in the last year of just talk once a month, really. And sometimes many of you know, I think really collaboration and conversation can be focused or it can just be kind of a sidebar conversation, but either way you're progressing and moving forward on things, and some smaller things that maybe aren't being addressed, we take care of, and we kind of work at it and work together. So our students are our future of our community. That's something we put our top priority to. I was fortunate enough today with the Fall to College program to read to the second graders at Hillview, and it really energized you in many ways. I know we've got teachers out here, we've got many of you that work with the students every day and understand that. Sometimes we don't get that privilege, as I call that in many ways, but they truly are the future, and it's our job to sit here and provide a safe environment for them. And that does take from the schools down to the safety forces in many ways. I appreciate Doug's good comments, but they are right on. At the end of the day, we roll if something happens. We have 11 school buildings here, and of course 3 more Catholic school buildings in this town. We have discussions with them also, because we have many children that we work with and do. So with that, today we have both our chiefs here, and we have our school resource officers here, and if they'd like to join us, I guess, over here, and I'll turn the mic maybe over to Chief Connor, Pat Connor, who heads our. I was very fortunate during my time as mayor to appoint both of our chiefs in here, and they're slightly younger, which is good, but very progressive and thinking out of the box that way. So again, we have regular discussions. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Pat. Thank you, Pat. Yep, go ahead.
The last time we met to discuss school safety here, there was a packed house, and I think there was a hot topic at the moment. We had some school shootings at that time. We haven't had anything recently, knock on wood, regarding that. However, you need to know that the public safety, police, fire, the school system, we're all still meeting regularly to talk about the safety of the students in the city of Newark. We constantly are thinking about these things. We're training together. The Newark Police Department, under Chief Connell, his staff, and my staff have collaborated significantly on the topics of school safety and integrating our trainings together, working together, formulating plans on how we respond to the emergencies here in the community. And I think it's been very beneficial, not only for us to learn the process, because obviously the environment, the community is ever evolving with different things that are going on. So we have to stay on top of that. We understand. So the relationship between the police and fire is very, very strong. The administration support to make that happen for us. It's just makes the wheel go around perfectly for us right now. So I just need you to know that we are working very hard to protect the children in this community. We will continue to do that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Police Chief Gary Connell.
First of all, thank you for having us tonight, and we hope to, rather than give speeches, probably get more feedback from you folks as to what you're interested in knowing. Echoing what they've all said, kind of sticks going last because you get to say everything over. However, the collaboration is something that we found to be huge. Unfortunately, in this country, as first responders, we actually learn and get better through tragedy. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of tragedies in the United States. Columbine being kind of the watershed moment for first responders going into schools when there's an unfortunate incident. We have learned a lot, and one of the things that we learned, probably the most important thing, is working together. So when we mentioned the safety meetings that we've been having, and we've had quite a few of them now, we try to embed somebody from the police department and the fire department in all of those meetings. and we vary who that is in the department. It's not always the same employee from each division, because we want that varied experience, because sometimes we just come up with certain things. We've talked about evacuation plans and things, and somebody will come up with an idea that actually makes sense when you think about it, it maybe didn't think before. So we're very happy with that. Probably the working relationship is as good between the three major organizations that it's ever been in my career of almost 30 years. So I guess at this point, Seth, we'll take over. And, I'll grab a seat and we'll find out what you folks want to know. Thank you.
Well, as you walked in at the table back there, there were some yellow note cards that I think most of you picked up. If you have any questions, write them down on the note cards, and an employee will get them from you, and we'll get it up here to read. I guess, and there's also an opportunity if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, on the front page of our website, there's an opportunity to submit questions as well, and I have that pulled up on my phone if anybody watching wants to do that. I guess I thought I'd also written down a couple extra questions to kind of get us started. I wanted to take this off Chief McConnell, the role that school resource officers play in school safety.
Probably have one of my officers speak to that as well. As an overview, school resource officers in the history of policing is relatively young. Those of you who are familiar with North City Schools, we had Dave Bartlett here for a very long time. Brian, how long have you been with us? And so there were a couple officers there before that. One of the things that we found in law enforcement is a school resource officer's benefit is they're here. So that any type of an emergency that requires a police response, everything we do relates to response time. So if we have somebody here, clearly they're going to be here quicker. There's a lot of other side benefits to that, is that we develop relationships. And what we found in the United States is that with school resource officers, we actually prevent a lot of tragedy because the school resource officers have developed those relationships within the school that the kids or parents feel a little more comfortable telling them things that may be a little suspicious or create a problem. So there's a lot of benefits to that, and we hope that it also develops relationships as these young kids go into adulthood and on. So there's a lot of advantages to us. Additionally, we can only speak for our agency. What we expect is that our school resource officers, should a tragedy occur here in one of our schools, they can provide that spear, the tip of the spear, in a military term, that provides us with a quick response, because our most important task is to neutralize the threat to our kids, and we want that to happen as quickly as possible. That's why schools are in session during the day. Every Newark police officer on duty, and probably a whole bunch of them that happen to hear about it, will be coming to the school. But we count on these two officers being the very first ones here, telling us what we need to know, and actually taking action. Brian, you want to tag team on that, or answer what we do? Okay. He didn't want to talk.
If you write something down, you might answer, just hold the card up, and we'll get someone to come get the card, bring it up here. Just talk a little bit about safety drills, just how often we do safety drills, when there's a lockout in the middle. I know we could, you guys have some input on safety drills in terms of response to preparing for schoolwork as well. Talk about our safety drills, how often we do that, prepare for emergencies.
Yeah, each building conducts regular scheduled safety drills, whether it be tornadoes. We used to do the tornado when we were in school, those type of things. Now we do other drills, and we try to mix that up so they're just not perfect. I know Nick Myers is sitting back here. Nick, I know at Hillview, did a drill with his kids out on the playground. These things don't happen when all students are in their classrooms. So we do that regularly, and we're planning one right now as our teachers come back to school in the fall for our entire staff, an entire district one, in conjunction with the police and fire departments to do, so that our staff really understands what would happen during that time. And so I know that the police department every year or two conducts safety drills in our buildings in the summertime. So I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, or?
Yeah, there's some questions. When you reference what we do in the summertime, clearly in the summertime the buildings are available, and what we've done over the course of the last 10 years is we work on how we would respond. So we create a mock situation and we act that out. One of the things that I'm super proud of that has happened with the fire department is that statistics have shown that in the tragedies we have had in the United States, that seconds count on getting medics inside the building. So what we have put in place are ways to get them in much quicker, probably than I would say most agencies. To the point that we now have 2 of the Newark Fire medics that are embedded on our SALT team, which is our SWAT team. They go out on regular raids whenever we do a drug raid or when we do a barricaded subject type thing. We have 2 of the fire medics that are actually equipped and respond with our SALT team. So we use that beginning, that training that we created in that, and we've expanded it so that we can get medics into the buildings quicker should there be something happening in one of the schools. And how we've equated it and what we've seen in past incidents in the United States is police goes in, they do their job, but there is a thought process that at some point we need to search every nook and cranny of the school to make sure there's nobody else. We may think we have everybody, but we have to ensure that we have nobody else. And what police responders had been doing is keeping the fire responders and the EMS responders at bay until the building was completely cleared. And what we've learned is that won't work. So we've created conditions where that when more officers show up, they take teams of medics in to do the work that they have to do. So surprisingly, it's worked really well and integrated very well. And ironically, what we've seen is a meshing of our first responders, our police, our fire, and EMS. They actually work together better on the street right now. We're regularly interchanging on regular calls for service. So we get an opportunity to practice that basically every day. You're going to give Brian home.
We talk about in the emergency evacuation drills, there's requirements from the State Fire Code as far as taking care of the students. In a protected building in the city of Newark or anywhere in the state of Ohio, you have to have 6, I believe 6 a year, with the first within 10 days of the student's report to class. If you're in an unprotected buildings that don't have fire protection systems, some places in Ohio there are some older school buildings that don't have sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems. You're required to do 9 a year, with the first being in the first 10 days of the student's report to school. So we do the evacuation drills like that. What's important to note when we talk about fire alarm drills, it was kind of a hot topic last time we had this safety meeting, is that some of the terrorist events, some of the active shooter events, they were attempting to use the fire alarm as a weapon. To pull the fire alarm, bring students out into the hallways in mass numbers. The Ohio Fire Marshal Jeff Hussey and the National Association of Fire Marshals have met, and there was some sheriffs in southern Ohio that were requesting that we change the fire code to not allow pull stations in school buildings, and that is not our current Ohio Fire Marshal does not feel that way, and also the National Fire Marshals Association does not feel that we want to alter the fire alarm systems in school buildings right now. However, they are discussing alternative plans for fire alarm installation and the way they're used in school buildings. But just be advised that the teachers are being instructed right now, if a fire alarm that was not announced happens in your school building, that the teachers check the hallways before when they open the door to allow the students to evacuate to the area, their meeting place, that they look out in the hallway both ways to check for safety before they let their students go. Once the students are out, the teacher shuts the lights off, closes the door, and follows them out to their safe area. In years past, it might be the teacher just says, everybody go out there, and doesn't check the hallway. So just some simple things right now that we're trying to put into the teachers. The way they evacuate the students into a safe place is to just check for safety first. And of course, the fire alarm systems in these school buildings. Now, we are looking at other alternative means to avoiding that situation that we've had a few times across America as far as using a fire alarm as a weapon. So those are kind of some scary topics that we might discuss tonight that some people don't think about. And these are things that we're discussing in our meetings with the school administration and the police chief and his staff and school resource officers. So there are little things that we're talking about that we can make little changes in certain areas that have a big impact at the end if there is something that goes down. But as far as Chief Connell mentioned, the SOG medics, the Special Operations Group paramedics, tactical paramedics that we have, that is something that when I was promoted chief by Mayor Hall and Chief Connell as well, very quickly after that, we sat down and identified that we've always wanted to do this, and it's time to do this. And we put some resources in our budget together to make this happen. And it's been a very success story right now to protecting not only our medics, protecting our police department that is here willing. 2 lives saved. 2 lives have already been saved in training right now by their medical expertise. So we are just absolutely thrilled with the results of what we're getting. And we build on that. And we'll continue to build on that to make sure that not only our police force is protected, they protect us every day on the street. It's just one thing we can hand back to them as a fire department and paramedics to protect them when they're out protecting us as well. So anyway, I think it's been a really, really good thing. Obviously, I always talk about Mayor Hall and his support of what we're doing. Without his support, we can't do this. So we're really, really happy with the service we can provide you.
One thing that they're talking about this these trainings is it's all about response time. And one of the initiatives that we as a district have taken to help with response time is the Citizen Aid. I know if you wanted Mr. Egan to talk a little bit about Citizen Aid and some of the other initiatives to help with response time.
Sure. I would add that, when we talk about response time, we put a system in our district where on our computers throughout the district, we have an icon strategically placed around our district that if it's activated, it goes right into the 911 call system. And it goes right through, it's number one. A lot of school shootings, it takes several minutes to get through to 911 a lot of times. So we did that for response time. What Seth's talking about is our Citizen Aid. You'll see in various places throughout, it's a company came out of Great Britain that's kind of new to the United States. They have a representative and a part owner in Granville, and they came to me a year ago and said, we want you to be the first district to put this in the country. And so basically what a Citizen Aid package is, a first aid package, because you could be in your room with an injured person for up to 2 or 3 hours. And so we're training our folks on that, on how to apply tourniquets and how to save lives and things that way. So I have on my phone an icon that if I push that icon, then it comes up, and I went through a 40-minute training, which doesn't make me an expert, but it makes me a lot better than I was before that 40 minutes. But also that icon talks about how to apply these kind of things and address a wound and that. And again, we're 800 strong in this district. People that are taught how to teach kids where to put a comma, how to add 2 + 2, and how to read. we're not experts on school safety, and we're not experts on health-related issues, that way, wounds and those things, but we are preparing ourselves for that situation had that occurred. And so those are some of the things that we've done. Seth, I think we got a little filler time. Is that because I don't see a question? Is there any questions come out there? Gee, I wonder who this is from. But as Seth's getting that, I did want to mention tonight a little bit about safety unrelated to some of the topics we're talking about, but we're talking about safety. And it's this time of the year that, this is my 19th year, might be my 20th year, 19th or 20th, I guess it doesn't matter when it gets that much, of being a school superintendent and going through the Ohio winters. And I would tell you that nothing is close to a decision you have to make on whether you have school, 2-hour delay, or don't have school. And that rests right here on me. And it has for all those years, and it's a very difficult situation. And it's even getting worse because of social media. We have 10,000 meteorologists across to, I will get, 2 weeks ago somebody came up and said, you're going to cancel school, it's supposed to snow 15 inches in 2 weeks. I tell them, I was an athletic director at one time. I never canceled a baseball game. The game being played on Thursday, on Wednesday, because it was supposed to rain. So I waited to see if that weather comes. Now, I want to tell you that get it to you as soon as we can. If we can get it the night before, because I know all of you are thinking, it's supposed to be 30 below. Are you going to call school? I'll wait till tomorrow night. And if the forecast hasn't changed, you'll be getting a call from Seth Roy on that. And then if it's 20 degrees the next day and sun out, then I'll just have to say, oops, one of those things. But it is a tough decision. What people say, at what temperature do you call school off? And I never set a certain temperature because I don't want to tell you it's got to be 15 below, because if I cancel at 10 below because the side streets are icy, and a lot of our children walk to school or to bus stops in this district. So there's a lot of factors when it comes into whether we cancel school or whether we delay. A lot of times we just like to get the light out, because we do have a lot of children that are walking to bus stops. So I did want to cover that because that's a huge issue with school safety. Oh, I'm still filling time? Okay, if anybody has a question out there and just want to shout it out. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on arming qualified teachers, especially in buildings that don't have officers?
I think the key there is qualified. Determine what's qualified. To me, personally to me, what's qualified is the training that these folks right here go through. If you've ever, and I have, stood in a building and watched them do a training exercise and see experienced police officers come in a building and their pulse is elevated and watch just, even though it's a training exercise. I'm not there yet, that way. I don't know that I ever would be. So I would just tell you, I would not make that recommendation to the Board of Education. There are just too many things that go along. Because I ask folks, superintendents in districts where they have it. I have a good friend, they have it his and he carries. And I ask them, what are you going to do when you go around a corner and you have something in your hand and one of these young men come in, say, I'm the superintendent, don't shoot? You're done, you're going. They don't know who the good and the bad guy is that way. I'm not there. I don't think I would ever get there, just because I think that's such an intense training. And it's more than just a training and then I'm certified to do it. These folks do this day in and day out. They put their lives in danger every day out there on our streets, and they're equipped to handle that. I don't think that we are. I'm not there. I don't think I won't speak for Warren or Mike over here. I don't feel that our Board of Education is there. We've had a lot of discussion about that in the past. I've had community members ask about that. For those reasons right there, that the safety of our staff and our children, I wouldn't want to say, well, you lock them up in there, but we wouldn't want to take that chance that way. But so, I mean, we're taught, even if we find something, put it in a trash can, sit there, don't hold on to it when they come in the building, because they'll have a split second, if that, to determine that. So that's how I feel.
One question from the audience. Is there any way the security doors at the entrance to school buildings can detect someone carrying a weapon into the building? Currently, no. I know the police chief might have a little bit of input on that topic.
So currently, no. Magnetometers is the detector that's being referred to there, similar to what you see in courthouses and airports primarily. They're not there, and what I would say is it would be almost impossible to put those in play. The superintendent referenced putting your kids in prison. The process to get kids in all day long and out all day long would take away their entire training day. So to try and get that in and out, because as you've seen, if you've been at an airport or a county building or a city building that has had those, is there's a lot of false negatives where a pocket knife or a set of keys, something like that, trips that. So really the only way to determine that would be through a magnetometer. There are some uses of bomb dogs in schools that are trained to detect firearms. Again, that's a pretty intrusive type of thing, so it's something that we just haven't participated in, and just logistically wouldn't work out. Saw yellow card. Ready to sit down?
No.
I made a firefighter joke out of this, right?
Well, Phil may answer this also. When you first arrive on the scene of a school emergency or any emergency, what is the most difficult thing to assess?
Well, assessing chaos. And that's one of the things that we work on every time we do this type of training, is dealing with the chaos. Because what we know from any of these major incidents is that it is not only chaos the minute we arrive, but it's chaos for the next 2-3 weeks. Generally, with social media the way it is now, any type of incident, such as a school shooting, would be national news within about 30 minutes. If you guys are aware, about 2 weeks ago, Walmart, about 2 weeks ago, we had a report of an active shooter at the Walmart on 21st Street. The truth was very far from that. However, by the time I got to the scene from my house, we were already getting calls from media out of state. So, in the span of 15 minutes. So, what we know is that there are going to be a whole lot of people who want to get away from the scene, and a whole lot of people who are going to want to get to the scene. First responders from everywhere are going to be trying to get to the scene, because that's what we've sworn an oath to do, is protect in times of chaos. So we're coming to the scene while a whole lot of other people are trying to get away from the scene. So we have that natural thing. One of the benefits that we've talked about in our safety meetings is talking about the different rally points and things like that. So we want to make sure that we don't have competing interests in people getting away from here and people coming here or to any of the school buildings. So again, for police officers, obviously it's going to be a different mission than with the fire and EMS folks. We're coming here looking for the person or persons who caused the problem, and they're going to be looking to find the people who need to be cared for because of those problems.
That's a great question, because we did discuss this. There are several school buildings in Newark that have very limited road access. When we have an emergency, and now that a lot of the children, of course the students in the high school have access to cell phones, information is immediate to their parents if there's something that's going on in school. As we get lesser in age, down to the elementary schools, the information doesn't make it to the parents as fast. However, parents are sometimes the cause of some of the chaos. I have children as well. I know if there was something wrong with my child in school, your instinct is to go there and get them. I get that. But if you look at some of the school buildings in town, all of the parents coming to pick up their children in an event of a possible emergency log up the ability to access from emergency traffic. And we talked about maybe we should send out a memo to all parents and to don't respond to the school if there's an incident. We're taking care of it. That's just not going to work because we all know how much we love our children, and everyone wants to go get their children, their child from that school. So being able to access the emergency scene from our fire apparatus, our medic units, all the police cars that are coming to take care of the event, we get bottled up in traffic just like the next person does, and it delays us resolving the situation at hand. So having a little bit of just take a moment and let the emergency workers do their business. We'll be there in minutes. So we may be there before some of the parents, obviously, to be able to mitigate that incident. But in some cases, there are situations, in active shooter situations, we've had reports where the EMS providers and fire apparatus were not able to access the scene because of traffic, because of parents coming to those large high schools to get their children, just causing chaos. So that's something that Chief Collins just talked about, how we need to teach the community what the response is, not only from fire and EMS, but also from the parents and the teachers. Also, one other thing to mention as far as when we respond to an emergency in a school building is information. We need that arriving information. The school resource officer is going to be obviously instrumental in getting us immediate information. However, teachers that might have information can get that information to the first arriving companies on the scene, whether it's a fire truck, police car, emergency squad, an SUV, a chief, whatever. Get that information, just location of shooter, whether it's one, whether it's two. How many people are hurt in the building right now? How do we access that? Do we have keys to get into that building? Where's the Knox box locations on this? We can access the keys. Where's maintenance? We have all these things running through our head in the event of emergency, and we just have to have the information flow very, very clear and concise to the first responders. And that's gonna tell you how it turns out in the end. We don't want to be searching the wrong end of the building. So information will roll in from each teacher. Very important. Very important that you get as much information as you can to give us that information. So.
I'll add a little bit to expand a little bit. You do not want, as a parent or grandparent or anything, to, and a lot of times, when you mentioned cell phones, our kids know about things that are happening out there before it gets down to Mr. Bowman's office here at the high school. It is incredible how quick it goes out. If you come up here, number one, you're not going to be able to get your child. But more importantly, you're just going to get in the way of our first responders. And I worry about somebody who get out of their car and head up here. They don't know if you're a good or a bad person. And it probably won't end well for you that way. And it takes time and focus off of the real bad person in the building for them. And so our plan would be that you would receive a message on where to pick your child up. That way, again, we're not going to discuss rallying points and those type of things for obvious reasons, but we've come a long way as a district. For a few years, we haven't told anybody anything of what we're doing because we didn't want to know. I can't emphasize enough, the number one way to stop this is talk to your children if you're a parent. And kids need to talk to each other, and they need to come down. I had a whole lot of principals sitting out around here that in the last few years would shake their heads saying, has any of your students ever come to you and said, hey, I think such and such has something in their bag? That's the best way to stop it. Every school shooting that's ever happened, someone knew about it before it happened. And so we encourage our students to talk, to take every threat seriously, and also to our parents. If you hear something from your child at home, please call us immediately and we will check into that. There's no bad call to make that. That's the number one way to stop that. I want to also talk about one of the things that we've done this year with the police department is they also have key fobs to enter our buildings when they come here, which is huge. for them to have access in and out of our buildings. So I did want to mention that.
Piggybacking on the, kind of if you see something, say something, and how that ultimately helps us. We also have a partnership with 211 in Licking County. That's our Safe School Hotline. And we have, throughout the past few years, occasionally have a student or a parent who will call 211 to let us know that something is happening and that we can investigate on our end. Did want to reflect that as well. Other question from here, what kind of safety procedures are implemented outside of school grounds?
Is that related to sporting events or?
I'm not,
Anybody want to expand
kind
on
of
that?
sporting events or,
Like walking to and from school, is there like decrease in those hours of patrolling? Or, because I know as a parent, my son walks to school and he doesn't always have a partner to walk with because his friend is sick a lot. So just curious like what that looks like.
I think I kind of followed your question. For police staffing purposes, we don't have specific patrols related to this, but the important times in the morning and the afternoon is times when we have overlaps in our shifts. So in theory, we have double the officers working at any given time during those 2 times a day. And again, it's developing some sort of safety plan with your child, letting them know how to get a hold of us if they need to. We fought commercial establishments for years in telling that when they had an emergency, they had protocol that they were supposed to call their district manager before they called the police department. We fought that for years, so we would say the same thing, that talk to your kids, especially older kids, they would know the difference between a real emergency and something perceived, that get a hold of us, call 911 if there's a particular situation happening that you need police response. So as far as that goes, like I say, about double the officers during those times a day. Sporting events, we have special duty officers at most all sporting events here in the city, or availability of officers. That kind of answer.
Yeah, I think one thing at a sporting event that we've talked about, I asked an off-duty officer a few years back, "Hey, are you carrying?" At a basketball game. He said, "Nope." He says, "Out of my car." I said, "I'll carry if you want me to. I have to have your blessing to do it." I said, "You got it." So we have, I try to talk to every officer on the force, because some of them are parents or some of them are just community members at the event, and they are carrying inside, and so it just doesn't seem right that if something happened, they have to go out to their car and then come back in, and so I do ask them to do that.
Interestingly, on that topic, the Division of Police, we redid all of our policies about a year ago. Went to a new management system that we feel to be better. It has a lot of oversight, research and case law. But one of the things that we had to do is I had to actually issue a letter of permission to all of my sworn officers that they could carry. We were in contact with the schools. They could carry both. Clearly, they could carry on duty on school property, but we addressed with a blanket permission that they can all carry off duty, following all the other rules that we put in place for carrying off duty. You have to be qualified. You have to go to we qualify 4 times more than the state mandates in our division. So the state requires us to qualify with our firearms once a year. We do it 4 times, sometimes 5 times a year. So we meet that. That permission statement allows them to carry off duty as long as they follow all the rules.
That last one? Okay, well, I'll end, and if anybody else has a question, we'll talk about. I'll end by saying this from a school perspective. Every other year, I attend the National School Safety Conference, and I do nothing all week. It's in July, when time's down a little bit. I do nothing all week but focus on school safety. Listen to speakers, listen to law enforcement, school personnel. Last summer, I listened to the folks in Las Vegas on how the school was affected by the country shooting that they had at the Jason Aldean concert. And I brought a lot of good things back from there. Again, just concentrating nothing else but school safety. Listening to folks who have been through school shootings, who have profiled school shooters, those type of things. And again, I came back, we instituted some things here that we've learned from that, but we were in a mode of not telling anybody what we've done. We have door lock systems that we did a few years back that our students don't even know what they are. And if that pen is activated, you're not getting that door from that standpoint, to protect our students in the door. Talked about our response time we put in through the 911 call center. And we talked about the citizen aid. I know this summer, Warren Weber and Tim Carr, who's a board member who's not here, are going to go to that conference with a team of folks from there and have that discussion, learn some more that way. That's all paid for by a grant that way. So we're taking advantage of that. So again, we spent a lot of time on this. I mentioned 19 or 20 years as a school superintendent. In the early stages of that, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on school safety at all. Spend a lot of time right now trying to make sure that our staff is prepared, trying to make sure that we're speaking with the experts here in our city, but most importantly, trying to work on mental health issues with our students and their families to assist in that, those situations like that. So we thank you for coming, letting you out here early tonight. Go home, get that warm blanket. You're going to need it in 2 days. That's what everybody's telling me. We'll see. But anybody else have a comment? Warren, don't put you on the spot. Mike Flowers, always let the board members have the final say. That's how I've been here 10 years. That's what I always do. Okay, well, let's thank the chief of police, the chief of fire, the mayor,